I'm Claudia. I have a channel on YouTube called Catching Claudia, and it's mostly about traveling and my past experience living in Spain. And I also have an Instagram called Catching Claudia as well, and TikTok. So pretty consistent. I grew up in Virginia, which is, for people who don't know, Virginia is on the east coast of the United States, right in the middle. So I grew up on the coast of Virginia in this town called Newport News. It's very suburban. Our parks are little beaches and things like that. I went to school, or I grew up there, stayed there until I went to college. And then I went to college at a school called East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina, which is a super small town. But I really chose the school because of it's a college town, and it has that pretty much everyone is there to go to the school, and it's surrounded by the football team, and just I really wanted that stereotypical American college experience with the tailgating, which is everyone parking their cars outside next to the field and partying in the parking lot and things like that. So that's what I wanted to experience, and that's why I ended up, well, not the only reason I chose my school, but that is part of the reason. I studied communication, and I specifically studied journalism. So right now I'm in graduate school at American University, which is based in DC, but I'm doing it remotely right now. And I'm studying strategic communication.
Awesome. Yeah. I guess what made you want to study communications?
So I just have always known that I wanted to do something artsy originally. So when I was applying for colleges, I really was like, okay, I want to write, I want to do television, I want to learn the behind the scenes, the editing and things like that. So ultimately, I thought journalism would be kind of a combination, as well as I really love those shows where like Anthony Bourdain, where he would go to different countries and interview people, taste their food, that travel journalism aspect. So that's why I chose journalism. I thought that part was really exciting and fascinating, and just being able to tell people stories and get to know people and their culture that way.
Cool. I was wondering, what do you think is like the most kind of useful things that you learn? Like, I mean, I guess, obviously people can, you don't have to go to school to be a journalist, but like, what do you think is the most kind of useful thing that you took away?
So for me personally, I did this class that was basically being on camera. And that was super useful for me because I felt at the time I was more of a behind the scenes person. I pretty much thrived in the writing aspect and the editing, putting the pieces together, but I was not confident or comfortable in front of the camera at all. So I feel like that was very beneficial, just being forced to be not only in front of the studio, in front of everyone, but also being in front of the camera and just feeling very confident. So now I feel like if I ever were in a situation where I had to do that, then I would feel very confident, as well as my writing ability just went. I mean, I was obviously a pretty good writer before I got to college and had to write all of my essays, but it just got exponentially better. I feel very confident with that. And my biggest takeaway was just that confidence aspect, as well as writing ability, and just knowing that, okay, occasionally I'll have to send it to an editor, but I know my stuff. I know that this comma needs to go there, or things like that. So
yeah. And you also studied abroad, right, during college?
Yeah, so I did a summer session in Spain. So I studied in Granada, Spain. And I don't know. So basically my major, we had to be my school's program, I believe, to get the Bachelor of Science, you have to have a language aspect. So I was like, okay. So when I first got into college, I immediately just was like, let me just get this Spanish credit out of the way. I took Spanish all through high school. So I took the test, placed into one of the higher levels. So I was able to take it one semester and be done with the credits. But then my mom was just kind of like, you're just wasting that ability. It's another language that you could actually be good in. You clearly know what you're doing if you can test into this class and be done with it your first semester of college. So she was like, you have to go somewhere that speaks Spanish and I'll pay for it. So I was like, okay, fine. I guess I won't go to, I think I wanted to go with my program to Italy and Switzerland, but she was like, I'm not paying for that. So I was like, okay, where am I going to go? So I found out my school was going to Spain, and I was like, okay, I guess Spain. I've never really thought about Spain when I was studying Spanish, I always expected myself to go to South America, but going to Spain was one of the most life-changing experiences I ever had. So I'm really glad that I did it, because if the program wasn't going to Spain, I probably never would have gone.
Yeah, for sure. So how long were you there for?
So I only stayed for a month, and I definitely that summer wish that I had stayed longer. Once I did it, the 1 month, it was like, oh wow, living in the house with a family that spoke no English, obviously. It's like I knew, but I think being in it and realizing, oh my God, like I have no idea what they're saying. I really want to communicate. And so by the end of that month, I felt very comfortable. I was having dreams in Spanish just because everything, once I got home, was in Spanish. But yeah, I only stayed a month.
Okay, cool. So was it more just like learning the language?
Yeah, I specifically went there to learn language. I know some people, they went for culture,
Yeah.
and tested into the classes for culture. I did test higher, but I just wanted to get my foundational things, because at that point, this was my junior year. So I hadn't taken Spanish for over a year. So I just felt like I didn't want to, I wanted to just get the foundation, especially in Spain. They also use the vosotros form, which they don't really teach us in the States. Well, I'll just say in my experience, they didn't teach us that in the States, because they're like, you only use this in Spain. And in my head, I was like, I'm never going there. So, but I just felt like that was good for my foundational things. And so when I went back to the States, I actually picked up a Hispanic studies minor because I was so interested in it, and took all the culture classes. My last semester of college was completely in Spanish.
Oh, cool. And yeah, I was wondering, had you traveled much before? Like, was this your first time out of the country? Or?
So the first time I actually went to Nicaragua for a week. And that was really the only abroad experience I ever had. And it was very, very different. Nicaragua, it was a good experience, but I think it was one of those where I just needed to be there longer, because again, it's always, for me, I realized, especially when I went to Spain, I have to be immersed, because if I know you speak English and I want to sound as smart as possible, I know that I'm going to sound way smarter in my own language than I will in someone else's. But once I came back, I was a little bit more focused. This was high school, but then I don't know, it's just like in the middle of college, I was just like, okay, I finished that credit, I'm done. And then finally got reinterested.
Cool. Yeah. And I guess you must have really loved it, because you went back, right, to be like an English teacher?
Yeah, I loved it. It was amazing, honestly. I don't know, Spain, their culture is just so great. Just even compared to America. America is very work. And as an American, you think that's normal, and I guess it is for us, but going there, it was like I really felt the balance of work and life. It's like, you have work. In my school in particular, we want you to do this project. How about you just take this hour and do it here, so you don't have to do it at home, and then you can just relax at home. Whereas like in the United States, it's kind of like you need your phone on at all times. People expect you to email back within a few hours, or it just gets kind of dramatic. So that was definitely a difference.
Yeah, I think especially being in Granada, right? Like that's Andalusia. And like the South is kind of known to be even more like chill.
Yeah, it was even more lax. So my host family, I was doing homework. She was like, oh, just do it later. And I'm like, no, I can't. I mean, I probably should finish it now, right? Just very different from the American experience.
Right. So I guess when did you like go back? Was this after you graduated?
So let's see. I went junior year, summer after my junior year, went back, graduated, had no idea what I mean, I kind of knew. I was like, I kind of want to study abroad. And then because my last semester was Hispanic studies and just finishing that minor, we had to do for my medical Spanish class, which was very, very random. I just have to say, most random thing ever, but I needed the credit. For the medical Spanish class, I had to work with interpreters for an internship to get credit for the class. I was telling them about, okay, I'm kind of applying to work in Spain, but I don't know if I want to do it. I'm kind of nervous. And all of them were just like, you just have to do it. Just go, just go. And so that kind of started getting me really to think about it. And then once I graduated, and then I saw where I was placed, I was like, okay, looks like a beautiful town, once in a lifetime opportunity. So I was like, let's do it.
Yeah. So sorry, where were you placed again? Was it like Valencia?
So, yeah, I was placed in the Valencia region, about halfway down, right in the middle. And so I was placed in this teeny tiny town called Alfaz del Pi, which is this gorgeous, beautiful clear water beach town, and very, very small town feel though. Yeah. So because of it was next to this bigger town called Benidorm, which is very different. It's actually a tourist town for British tourists, and apparently it's very popular. I'd never heard of it in my entire life until I was looking for places to live. And Benidorm, different experience. Near the water, very, very touristy. It was like sometimes I was searching to find people who spoke Spanish, which was, it was like, oh my gosh, I really, this isn't exactly the experience I wanted. Like I want to be fluent. So we ended up deciding to live in the locals area, which wasn't really near the beach. It was walking distance, but not as touristy as the people who were living right on the beach. So I was still able to get more of an authentic experience that way.
Cool. Did you move over with friends or like people that you knew, or was it just?
Yeah, actually. So during that whole time, that last couple months of college, one of my really good friends who actually convinced me to go to study abroad in the first place, I bumped into her randomly on campus, and she was like, you should apply. I'm applying. Put Valencia as your top region. And at that time, I was going to put Andalusia. So she was like, put it as your top region. It's beautiful. I went when I was there because she stayed for 2 months that summer. So I was like, okay, looks like I have a pretty good chance of it's not super small, but it's smaller region. So it looks like I'll be able to be placed somewhere nice. So I was like, okay. So then I guess she convinced 2 of our other friends. I was talking to another friend. So 4 of my closest friends from college actually all applied to be in Valencia region, and we all were within a 2-hour distance of each other. So I ended up living with one of my really good friends from college because she put my name on her application, but I didn't know that she did that. So she got placed a town over from Benidorm. So we both picked Benidorm as like the midpoint. And then our other friend, she was placed by herself, but she was placed right next to the city of Valencia, Puerto de Sagunto. And then our other friends, they were placed south of us in Elche, which is not touristy at all, but it was very different. And I feel like I visited there a lot and I really liked it there.
Yeah, that's so cool that you had like a bunch of friends like go with you at the same time.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I have to go.
Yeah, did you get to do any traveling? Like, what were your favorite places that you visited?
Yes, and it's crazy because it happened right before the pandemic started. So I pretty much did not every city on the coast, but there is a bus that did, their public transportation is really great. Yeah. There was a bus that did the coastal towns. So a friend and I that I met there, we did one weekend, we went to one of the midway points that we'd heard about. And then the next day, or we went home. Then the next day we went a little bit further. So it was like, yeah, we got to do all those little beach towns and they were very, very different. And then another, I'm trying to think, I don't think I didn't travel outside of the region actually when I was there, but then I did get to go to Italy actually the day that the pandemic hit. It was my birthday. So I was in Italy during the big outbreak. So some of the things were closed, but I did get to see a few places in Milan, which was really nice and a good way to age up, I guess. So not as much traveling as I wanted to do, but definitely got to know that region really well.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's that's kind of cool though, because like people that normally visit Spain, like they just go to big cities and they never go see like those small towns.
Yeah, I don't think if I hadn't lived there, I don't think I ever would have seen some of these towns. And it was like very beautiful. And it's something that I would recommend. That coast, I don't think people even realize how beautiful that coast is, because there's another one closer to Barcelona that people know more. So I would definitely recommend Costa Blanca because it's gorgeous.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely want to go there. I went to like Madrid and Barcelona, but I didn't get to go to like the Valencia part.
Oh yeah, you have to go.
Yeah, I guess just now, like going into your YouTube channel, what made you want to start making videos?
Actually, so back to the communication thing and not being comfortable in front of the camera. When I started taking that class where it was, I forgot the name of the class, but again, we just had to be in front of the camera every single day. And I just realized how terrible I was at reading the teleprompter and just everything about it, so nervous. So I was like, okay, I need to practice. I need to find a way that's going to be fun for me to practice. So I started the channel because I wanted to get more comfortable. And I could definitely see, compared to my older ones, not recommending that anyone watch those, but I can see where I improved a lot and just got way more comfortable once I made the videos. And yeah, I wanted it to be about travel, but at that point I had no idea where I was going or if I was traveling, but it was like, okay, I always said I wanted to do the travel journalism, so I should start making a platform for that.
Awesome. Yeah, and you've started this kind of, I guess, series where you're like interviewing people, right? So yeah, like how did you think of doing that?
I just, with the pandemic, and I guess when I interview you, we'll talk about your experience with it. But because the United States has just been a little messed up with the pandemic, really can't go anywhere safely. I mean, you can, things are open, but I just was getting sad because I'm going from living abroad and going from preparing to have so much travel content. Like, let me just tell you what I was about to do. Okay. Right before the pandemic, I had a trip to Barcelona planned the week it shut down. The next week I was supposed to go to Berlin, then travel Italy, then go to Malta, and I want to say one more country. Oh, Greece. So all of that was canceled. So I was like, okay, fine. Last year, I guess I tried to stay motivated, but it was obviously just a very disappointing situation. And so I tried to stay creative, but it just wasn't doing it for me because the thing that I like is the travel aspect. So this year I decided it would be really fun to at least start sharing people's experiences in their own country or traveling to a different country or moving. And it's still a way to kind of travel through people's experiences, even if I can't have them myself right now. So that's why I decided to start it.
Yeah, I guess it would have been really hard if like your whole YouTube channel's on travel and then you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, that was very just disappointing, especially, I mean, I honestly had a planner of every video I was going to make until I left Spain. Oh, and side note, I was then going to move to Brazil with my mom. So really? I was like, yeah, she was living in Brazil and she ended up having to come back to the States as well. So I had the whole year written out of videos I was going to do. So it was disappointing, but then it was like, at this point, I'm like, we're still in it over here. So it's like, I just have to figure out a way to make it still enjoyable and prepare to travel once it's over and safe.
Yeah, for sure. That's so cool though. Like if you made like videos just on live life in Brazil, like that would be so interesting.
I know, I was really excited because I do not know Portuguese. Because of living in Spain, I feel like I actually can understand a little bit because in Valencia, they also speak Valenciano. So it's like combining that and Spanish, it just almost makes sense. Like once you live there, and once you live somewhere that speaks multiple languages, it's just like your brain makes connections, I guess, because when we went to Italy, I was like, I think this makes sense too. So yeah, it was very exciting, and hopefully one day I'll get back there or go somewhere and use those language skills again. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I guess, how is your Spanish now? Like, do you consider yourself fluent?
No, I don't. I definitely, understanding has gotten so much better. That was definitely the biggest takeaway. When I lived there, I felt like I understood before, but being there, it's different. So I feel like before I was thinking through Spanish and English, and now it's like I think about Spanish in Spanish. And I think that's the difference between being fluent and not being fluent. Trying to translate versus just knowing what you need to say. So I think I'm getting better, but I try to practice here, and I've met some people where I can Skype them, or, well, not Skype, but Zoom and FaceTime and try to practice. But that immersive experience is definitely something that I'll probably seek out again, just because that was the connection for me, hearing people say it how it's supposed to be said versus me trying to translate it from English the way that we say it, if that makes sense.
Right. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, well, that's pretty much it for me.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I guess
Well,
I'll see you for part two.